Costa is brought to you by FQM Trident Limited, a subsidiary of First Quantum Minerals Limited.
President Hakainde Hichilema has highlighted Zambia's continued progress in upholding national values and principles over the past year. In his State of the Nation address delivered to the 13th National Assembly on Friday last week, the President underscored government's unwavering commitment in combating corruption, alcohol and substance abuse, early child marriage and gender-based violence. Meanwhile, the head of state has reiterated his concerns regarding the arresting of citizens by investigative wings and the police without thorough investigations, and has directed all authorities to prioritize the swift and fair administration of justice, ensuring that rights of all citizens are upheld. Earlier last week, the United Kwacha Alliance held a media briefing in which they had argued that President Hakainde Hichilema should resign if he does not address the concerns raised by our Civic Duty Organization, or CIDA, in their letter to the American Embassy. Newly appointed United Kwacha Alliance Secretary General Mulusa is my guest. He joins me right after this. Good evening, it's Sunday once again. Welcome to Costa with me, Costa Mwansa. Welcome to those of you watching us across the borders in Malawi, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and indeed back home here in Zambia. It's channel 271 on DStv, channel 20 on GOtv. Our Facebook stream is Diamond TV Zambia, as well as that on YouTube. It's Diamond TV Zambia. Lucky Mulusa is no stranger to public leadership as well as governance. He's served as minister before. He's newly been appointed as the Secretary General of the United Kwacha Alliance movement for now. He's my guest on Costa tonight. We discuss the presidential speech to Parliament and pertinent issues affecting the economy and the country at large. Honorable Mulusa, always a pleasure. Good evening and welcome to Costa.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
Great. Before we get into biting at the cherry of the presidential State of the Nation address, let's just give a bit of context. You obviously served as Minister of National Planning under the Patriotic Front, under the leadership of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. You resigned that position just before the 2021 election. You were part of the Movement for Democratic Change, that is the MDC, under the leadership of Honorable Felix Mutati. And there was an alliance, and I believe there is still this alliance with the UPND and the MDC, who are now in the governing seat. So how has this transition been? Have you finally relinquished your membership and position, or your role in the MDC to join the UKA?
Oh yes, that is the position. I left that position as Secretary General of the MDC sometime, I think, in 2022. And the reason was simple. I quite disagreed with the conduct of our main partners then, that was the UPND. They went on a completely different trajectory compared to what we were promising the people that would do. Now, it became a little bit uncomfortable for me to remain there and stay silent, because then I would have been supporting what was going on. So it was very important that I got myself out of that technical retirement, because what the UPND did was that the last time they mentioned alliance partnership was just a few days before the elections. That's when the term alliance was coming out of their mouths. After elections, that was completely dropped. If you go back when President Hakainde Hichilema opened Parliament, you read his speech. No term alliance, it was the UPND government. Honorable Msokotwane read out the budget policy statement for the year 2022, and that was in October 2021. He never mentioned. These are documents that are there. You can put them out, and using the search function, just put in alliance and see if from the president's speech or Honorable Msokotwane's speech the term alliance ever appeared there. And then I think sometime in January of 2022, the president again must have addressed the parliament. There was no term alliance in his speech. And at that point, I came to the conclusion that no, we're simply not there. And my remaining as part of the MDC meant that I had technically been retired from politics. I mean, I've chosen to be a politician in the last part of my life, in my working life. So I stepped out.
One would argue, I mean, I've attended a couple of, briefings at State House with President Hichilema, and he does make mention of the recognition of the alliance partners. But I think for me, beyond the mention or recognition, my question would be, going into the 2021 election, what was the fundamental agreement? What was the memoranda of how this alliance would work? Was it merely a loose alliance, or one where we saw Honorable Mutati, Honorable Milupi, the likes of now Thabo Kawana, who was part of the MDC, being given some positions, and it's ended there? We've seen others like Mr. Msoni Nason crying out that this alliance, only a few benefiting, and so on and so forth. So the question is, has there been a fallout of this alliance? Is it still in existence? And what was the memoranda of going into government?
Well, there was no written agreement that specified how functions would be performed or shared, and what role particular members from the alliance were going to play. It was more or less like a gentleman's agreement. And I don't think it is even possible to enter into a legal agreement about how going forward you are going to coexist, because the functions of the president is anchored in the Constitution, and it gives privileges and rights and powers to the president to do as he wishes. For instance, it says the president shall appoint from amongst members of parliament his cabinet. You understand? So you can't go over and above that and start saying I Milupi or I this should be the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Infrastructure. I mean, you can't take the president anywhere if it doesn't do that. So it's almost useless to actually sign on an agreed document, because you can't enforce it. The guiding foundation is in the supreme law. So I never heard of any, but it was quite a well-structured alliance. We had the Council of Presidents, we had the Council of Secretary Generals, and we worked very well in terms of coordinated approach to the campaign.
Now, at the time you were leaving in 2022, make us understand, did you relinquish your participation just in the alliance? What has happened of parties like the MDC? While people like Honorable Mutati are serving as ministers within cabinet, how possible is it that the MDC is functioning? At the time you were leaving, is the MDC still in existence with Mr. Mutati as its president?
Well, legally it is existing with Mr. Mutati as a president. When I relinquished the position of Secretary General, I just became an ordinary member until a few days ago, when I wrote to Honorable Mutati indicating to him that I was leaving the organization altogether. You see, it is extremely difficult to belong to an alliance where the main partner is rejecting the rest of the alliance partners. And I'll give you a simple example. MDC had members, and probably still has members, throughout the country, throughout the 116 districts. And so were a few other political parties in the alliance. When President Hakainde was appointing DCs, he did not consider a single person from the alliance partners. So all the 116 district commissioners, and that's the base of any political party's recognition, if at all you are calling yourself as alliance partners.
But like you said, there was no agreement.
There was no agreement, yeah,
so
but
he's done nothing wrong.
In a gentleman's agreement, if you're a sincere person, you simply stick to your word. You stick to your word.
But he's recognized President Mutati, he's recognized the likes of Thabo Kawana.
Yeah, but the MDC is not Thabo Kawana and Mutati alone. Like I'm saying, it has and it had members throughout the country, throughout the 116 districts. How would Mutati, for instance, go and visit Mansa, and his people are merely trying to attach themselves to the UPND, which is not interested in them. In fact, in the UPND, there's a culture of rejection. They're not inclusive, including amongst themselves. I think you've picked up complaints from a lot of UPND members who feel that they are left out, they are never consulted, and also the culture of consultation in the UPND government and movement doesn't exist at all.
Based on what you've established, brings me to a very important, question. Now that you are what I would call, whether it's interim or newly appointed Secretary General of the United Kwacha Alliance, again, a loose alliance of political parties that have come together to form what you're calling, a movement 2 years before the general election, of 2026. How are you going to marshal this now, because you're the man at the center of taking this movement into an election, so that this does not happen? Besides, our constitution does not guarantee for an alliance to go onto the ballot into an election. It's political parties that are recognized to contest for an election. So, Mr. Secretary General of UKA, how will this work out?
Whether somebody likes it or doesn't like it, UKA will be registered as a party.
As a political party.
As a political party. And if that is resisted, we've got probably put together, if you look at our presidents and the average ages, including myself, we probably have 1,000 years of experience in how to strategize, how to get around issues. So we feel that differently from the UPND alliance, this particular one will actually exist as one umbrella under the formation of a political party. So we will be a political party, and then we'll all work through that.
What will happen to the political parties that are forming this alliance at the moment? Do they deregister and now become one into UKA?
Well, that is something that will be subject to discussion and agreement.
Is that what you're already discussing?
No, not yet. We're not yet there. Now we're very focused on registration. We are focused on creating that unity of purpose. Right now, I will be meeting the Secretary Generals to try and get, to actually get copies of their constitutions and copies of their manifestos and any strategies that they put forward, so that we can bring them together, summarize them into single documents that everybody would be able to talk to. And on the burning issues in the country, we would be able to speak from one position.
Does Zambia right now need a new political party, and what does political history teach us now? When you go back into 1991, you come down into 2011, you come into 2021. Could it be that once you are unseated as a ruling party, Zambian politics can never just allow you to bounce back? And for me, I ask this question to go to the core of ideologies, beliefs and values of these political parties, that they only stick together on the road to power, and once they're out of power, the political parties can never hold in the opposition. Do we need a new political party at this point? We have so many.
Yes, we do, because number one, the Constitution allows it. Number two, we need to define what a political party is. A political party is a mere platform where people with similar values and goals congregate in order to refine their beliefs and set themselves up for pole position in an electoral process. Now, in that platform, the membership does not always constitute people of similar values. Some come in with very bad characteristics, and these are the people now that spoil that political party when it gets into power. Now, here are the weaknesses. In Zambia, apart from the MMD then, who had an investment vehicle, and UNIP, none of the political parties thereafter have had businesses to sustain themselves from organically generated funds. It is always through sympathizers and those that come in the process of rent seeking. So when you get out of the of government, when actually you were used to these huge inflows of funds, and now those funds dry up, and you've got no self end source of income, political parties tend to find themselves becoming weak. And because there's been a culture of getting used to free access, sometimes illegally obtained resources, and now you don't have them, you crumble. And for as long as we continue like this, all political parties that get kicked out of government will always crumble. And we need to shift from that. And
so you're saying UCA will be formed as a party based on shared values?
Yes, concluded shared values.
Now I'm happy, and I'm bringing about the aspect of values. You, Mr. Mulusa, as a politician, as a public leader, a couple of years back, resigned from the PF administration as minister at the helm of national planning, citing corruption, citing a decay in moral governance values. How then would you look the Zambian people in the eye and tell them that today you want to form a party as Secretary General with people with bad character, using your own words a few seconds ago, that you left in government over corruption and decayed moral values? How do you then look us in the eye and tell us that you are a man of moral value if you're going to eat and share the table with people you called thieves?
Excellent question. Very, very good question. It's very important that this question is answered from a Christian point of view. To start with, I spoke about a political party being a platform where people come together who have shared values and who have shared ideals in order to refine, to package a message including conduct on how they should move forward. Now, obviously, you realize that if an organization has a particular leader who leads it in a particular way, then those common shared values that you espouse will come out. So, you are talking about me having resigned from the Patriotic Front government. You see, that narrative has been created by people who with a critical mind, and they say, you know, I resigned. I was actually fired. Yes, technically I resigned, but I gave an opportunity to the president to rather fire me.
No, but Mr. Mulusa, you are on record. Nobody is doing critical mind thinking here. You are on record for saying, I'm leaving this corrupt government because of wheelbarrows and all these things. You are on record.
No. I never said I'm leaving because of this. It was a lot of issues that made me eventually part ways with the Patriot Front. But I never said...
And I don't want to talk about your ministerial position, your resignation, your exit was on the basis that you couldn't stay in an administration that made reckless decisions, that was corrupt.
Yes, of course.
Those were your words.
No. My words were not that I am leaving because of ABCD and I sit down and write a letter of resignation. My leaving was a sequence of events that even President Edgar Chagwalungu felt uncomfortable to continue working with me.
So why were you fired? Or how did you leave?
Yes, I was fired because I disagreed precisely what you have said. Number one, I was not happy with the arrogance of incumbency that was being exercised by my colleagues in cabinet. I left because of the team that President Lungu had surrounded himself. And when certain decisions were being made, you could actually see who could have sponsored or motivated such a decision. I resigned because it became very difficult to continue working in an environment where any project where somebody could not benefit was then frustrated.
Benefit in what sense? Corruptly?
Corruptly, yes.
So you agree that you left because of corruption?
Yes, I did. I did not only leave because of corruption. I left because, amongst many things, corruption, maladministration, the massive dismissals in national interest of people from one region favoring people from the other region.
So there was nepotism?
There was nepotism, there was favoritism, and I couldn't just stay. So that's now today you are saying, I'm now going to work with the...
Yeah, that's the question. Yes, so how do you drink from the same cup and sit on the same table with people who promoted nepotism, people who were corrupt, and you, the clean one, left? What's your justification? Because they're now in the opposition?
I'll ask you this question. See what is happening to those that were corrupt in the PF. And are you sure a lot of them will find their way back in government? Look at how many people are appearing in courts of law. So many. There are those that were in PF and they were innocent. For instance, I can mention Reverend Godfrey Sumaili. So that doesn't mean that the entire PF had every single person that constituted the millions that formed the PF being wrong. No, the other thing...
You're running away from my question. My question is, and I'll be very specific, your appointer was President Lungu. You did not agree. You've just said right now,
yes,
maladministration, the people that he surrounded himself with.
Yes, exactly.
So he is the person, quite influential, under the UKA movement. How then do you explain your alignment to such a man? On morals and values, Honorable Mulusa.
There's a role he's playing. And that role he's playing is to actually galvanize support and not to impose any weaknesses that he had then onto the culture of UKA.
How will you ensure that? Has he changed?
Well, changing from the perspective of pronouncements by some of his key members, there's a claim that he has changed. But I think let me be specific. President Lungu himself has indicated he will not lead UKA. He has said it. But people are creating the narrative that he will lead UKA so that they can fight UKA based on those issues they disagreed with him when he was president. He's simply, as a Zambian, giving the necessary support to Uka.
I think the basic,
and there are a lot of
I think the basic questions around public interest are that the people voted out President Edgar Lungu and the PF in 2021 for reasons that you know and you've outlined here. And if President Lungu is going to want to have a part of a comeback or a shared vision or value to bring a party aligned to him back into power, the people are afraid that then you're bringing back traits of what we kicked out.
No, it will not happen that way. If you recall, not too long ago, the PF leadership addressed a press conference at which they admitted wrongdoing, and they asked for forgiveness from the Zambian people.
Which leadership?
It was led by
the Mao Sampa.
No, forget about Mao Sampa. That's a creation of the UPND. That's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the leadership of the PF, where President Lungu belongs. They came up, addressed the meeting, and I remember Given Lubinda admitting and apologizing to the Zambian people. Now, here is the issue. We're a Christian nation. If somebody says, I'm sorry, I have moved away, I promise to lead a different life, church, forgive me, can I be part of the church? Jesus allows us to accept them back. But the kind of processes that we are going to put in place as UKA will be those that will examine tenets of bad governance, and that they shouldn't pass the test.
I'm happy that you come humbly today to say we'll speak as Christians. The forgiveness you talk about has to go through a process of repentance. Somebody needs to show remorse. You said the PF administration was arrogant.
Yes, very, very arrogant.
Are we not seeing traits of arrogance still when President Lungu says things like, if you former head of state, isn't that arrogance? Does that show you humility?
You see, as a human being, he's passing through a lot. He's passing through a lot as a human being, as a family. He's passing through what he feels is harassment, and he's bound to lose it. You know, he's bound to lose it. But I think the PF leadership asked for...
They asked for forgiveness.
Yes, but now remember...
Have they repented? You can ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
If I wrong you, I'll ask you to forgive me. It also takes you to say, you have forgiven me. And I need to atone for my sins. Have the PF repented, in your view?
Well, by proclamation, they have said they've repented. Now, whether they have repented, if at all given another chance, as the core PF the way they were, that would wait to see. But now, the best time to ask questions on repentance and somebody actually, behaving in a manner that they've repented, that would be at another stage, not just now. Because anybody can say, forgive me, I'm wrong. The next day they do the same thing. The next day they do the same thing. And when you complain, they remind you that Jesus said, forgive somebody 77 times. But now, listen, you see, we are not going to be like the UPND, who would stay in opposition, led by HH for about 16 years, and jump into government, and instead of learning from the mistakes of those that you've taken over from, you actually perfect those mistakes. You perfect them. You actually take the looting of state resources to another level. To tell you the truth, what the PF was stealing was small change. Compared to what the stealing is being done today. If you look at a technical level, from a technical perspective, the massive looting of Zambia's resources we will leave this country on its knees. If not, it has not already, taken it to its knees.
We hear this being said, especially by you politicians, but you've never ever been courageous enough or bold enough to produce this empirical evidence of corruption, whether you're reporting the UPND to the Anti-Corruption Commission or the DEC. Where's the evidence?
Well, you see,
besides, the other question is, the UPND found a country in dire straits, in debt. So what are they stealing?
Fine. You see, if you are a politician and you belong to a profession, you are educated, what you do is you observe values. You induce values in your pronouncements. Let me give you an example. Here is the situation where suddenly we are experiencing load shedding, right? And that load shedding is being perpetuated by a government which is not transparent. In terms of Zambia's installed capacity, we have enough, we generate enough electricity not to experience load shedding. And remember that at the end of the PF's administration, load shedding was almost a thing of the past. Why? Because at our waste level, the year 2015/2016, we had a shortfall of 580 megawatts of electricity. When we had that shortfall of 580 megawatts of electricity, we started importing electricity, and at the same time, we brought on board the Mamba Collieries thermal plant to produce 300 megawatts of electricity. And about 260 megawatts of electricity was being evacuated to go and feed Kalumbila. And Kalumbila came on board. And that was under the PF. And at that time, we started the Kafue Lower Gorge with the installed capacity of almost 1,000. And it has been commissioned. Now, between the time that PF finished load shedding, or at the lowest level of load shedding of the PF, and having brought in almost 1,400 megawatts of electricity, adding that to the grid, plus what we're importing, there hasn't been any new Kalumbila that has been commissioned in order for us to say part of the electricity is going to feed this particular mine that we've opened, and that's why now we are load shedding. Now, talking about water levels, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Why is it a lie?
It's a lie because these water levels have not reached the lowest that we had in 2015 after...
So what are you alluding to? You about this regime being corrupt or stealing?
In that aspect, it's not stealing, but not being transparent.
In what sense?
Yes. When you are not truthful to your people, then people start applying deductive reasoning to explain what they're experiencing. Here is a situation where we have enough electricity for every Zambian who is connected to the grid to have power. And we are in a disposition of no load shedding. It has finished. Here in South Africa, it is going for elections. And one of the burning issues in South Africa is load shedding. And here is South Africa dropping the number of hours they are load shedding their people with. So now you say, but South Africa has not commissioned any plant to produce extra power. For them to suddenly have power, where is power coming from? So here is ourselves getting suddenly massively load shedded. And some areas are not having electricity for 48 hours actually. Here in Lusaka, 48 hours. Now, suddenly, our colleagues in South Africa, the situation has improved and they are going towards elections. And the minister tells us that load shedding will ease. And when it makes it tells us the time when it will ease, it's immediately after the elections in South Africa. So deductive reasoning, when you are not informing your people of why they are going through something, comes to play.
You're trying to,
and so people start saying, we are being load shedded.
You're trying to be diplomatic. In short, you're saying that we are selling power to ESCOM.
Now, that's where I said.
Yeah. But this government has been transparent on the base from the president himself, unless you missed it. I have heard at press briefings where the president admits that there are already existing power purchase agreements, and I think the issue in one of the press briefings we asked him was, why should we sell power when we are in deficit domestically? And I think this is the problem the Zambians are having, that we are putting more premium on recognizing or rather failing to get out of these agreements on the basis that it will be difficult to get back into them if we default on these agreements. So there's agreement that they have PPAs already.
Yes, there are agreements. I think it's with Namibia and Botswana.
With NamPower.
Yes, but
as part of the Southern African power pool.
Yes, the amount of power that we export to Namibia and Botswana, I think, and Botswana, these are small amounts. These are small economies. In fact, they are smaller than the Zambian economy. So we've sustained those for a long time. We've had them. In fact, the first people that brought it out that that was happening was the PF government. You know, I remember Dora Silia was then either Minister of Energy or Chief Government spokesperson. She admitted that we are selling power to Namibia.
So why are you saying they're not being transparent?
They're not being transparent. Where is this massive load shedding? What is causing this massive load shedding?
Is it also not true that before the UPND came into government, government through ZESCO was owing huge amounts in excess of $40 million to ESCOM of South Africa through power importation?
Yes, this is what I'm saying, that we were importing power ourselves, but now we are exporting more than we should, most probably for political
And this is where you're saying that the UPND regime is more corrupt and is looting more than the PF ever did. You are saying the PF stole small change, the UPND is stealing massively. Is this the evidence you're providing, that the UPND is not transparent?
No. This particular assertion that I'm saying, that when you don't tell your people, then people start doing their own deductive reasonings, and they come to particular conclusions that we are going through this suddenly because of trying to save the ANC government during elections in South Africa.
But I want you to be very distinct and clear when you say the PF stole pocket change. This regime or administration of the UPND is looting massively. Where are the facts?
All right. Here is the president, without consulting Bank of Zambia, and I want to believe without being guided by the Minister of Finance and Cabinet, just decides to say he's giving mines tax rebates. Now, here is the looting in giving the mines tax rebates. The mines themselves, with the biggest mine, First Quantum, takes away $2.5 billion from FQM, where we owned, and I don't know how far they've gone, if we still own 20%. They take it to go and start a new mine in Panama, by the way, which they have lost. You know? Now, are you telling me that
they took away
$2.5 billion to go and
where did they take away that from FQM in Zambia?
Yes, from FQM in Zambia.
Under the UPND administration?
Under the PF administration.
Under the PF. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yes, it was under the PF administration.
Through the non-declared dividends to ZCCMIH?
No, those were reserves. They took away.
A matter then that CEO at that point of ZCMIH, Paz Kasolo, took up.
Yes.
And was fired for that.
Exactly.
By the PF.
But remember that Paz Kasolo took this matter to court. And it was, I think it was in London as well as in South Africa. Now, let me just finish this point. Here is a man that is capable of taking away without your permission 2.5 billion of the reserves to go and invest, start a mine in another country, which mine will not benefit Zambia, but it can be said to, because it was generated from Zambian resources, it's money that partly belongs to the Zambian people. Now, are you sure that the amount of money that we are going to lose through tax rebates, say over 5 years, and which some economists are estimating to be between 3.5 billion and $5 billion.
Which particular tax rebates are you referring to, Honorable Mulusa, for mines?
For instance, the loyalty taxes.
The removal of the non-deductibility?
Yes.
The change in that?
Yes.
And that's what you're referring to, say the UPND is looting?
Yes, that is looting. Look, are you sure that the mines can be given that money and they would not push anything under the table?
It's an assumption.
And we are being it's an assumption.
You're making an assumption.
It's an assumption.
So it's not fair to say that they're corrupt when you have no evidence. You're assuming.
Well, they're not transparent, so we've got every right to assume.
Well,
and you see, let me just belabor that point further.
Please go ahead.
You see, when the president gives reasons to say, I'm giving these mines tax rebates so that they can expand production, grow the jobs, so that our people will find jobs in the mines. Now, here is Zambia, without additional installed power generation to be able to support another Kalumbira. We can't. So how are the mines going to grow production? And then 2-3 months down the line, about 2,000 miners in Solwezi lose jobs. So it means that the president was just making a political statement. And then at the same time, our Kwacha starts suffering because the dollars that were coming to back up the Kwacha are no longer coming. The dollar is no longer coming in, and the Bank of Zambia governor starts complaining, starts expressing frustration. And I know how cabinet decisions are couched, even when that's why there's a government chief spokesperson. I know how they are couched, and I know how they are transmitted. And fiscal policies are never transmitted by the president just like that, willy-nilly. You understand? So, to win an election in Zambia, I mean, I've participated in elections, and I was there at State House. There's a lot of money political parties get sponsored with. So, if the UPND wishes to win the 2026 election, where is the money going to come from? It will come from the same people who they are giving the money. That's corruption. And probably this is payback for the support that they received.
Support which...
during the last election.
Like you're saying, you in State House, or support which you equally received as a political party then, support which even UCA as a political party formed will receive.
The UCA will have a different approach.
It will not receive any sponsorship money? How will it finance itself?
It will receive sponsorship money from its members. But it's not going to sell. It's not going to sell the country.
We have always heard that. So it's not going to sell the country. Who is selling the country? And again,
the UPND are selling the country.
And again, we ask this: provide the evidence.
Yeah, this is what I was telling you. That when a government is not transparent, the evidence would be through assumption. Like I've told you. The members say pamushi mumushinga mwaluba akakote, and then ichimbwi muma droppings yakwe mwabe mishishine mfui. They assume that eyalire akakote akafuile. So here is Zambia suffering load shedding suddenly, and here is South Africa suddenly picking up few hours of load shedding. And I'm not saying the amount of power that would send to South Africa would finish the load shedding there. But cumulatively, with what they could be getting from elsewhere, it would.
Let's get back to the mine. So who is the UPND selling or auctioning this country to? First Quantum and its global mining operations is internationally well known through Canada. You talk about South America, Australia, and everywhere. They've been in this country. When you talk about Barrick, the Lumwana project, the Kansanshi, or now, it has not started under the UPND. It's things they found. You talk about KCM and Vedanta. All they are saying is they've withdrawn the court process and they're bringing back Vedanta. So they're selling back to the people they found? They're selling the country to the people they found?
To start with, there were reasons why the previous administrations decided to have a stake on behalf of the Zambian people in these mines. Remember that the time we started losing wealth from the mines was the low levels of operations that the mines started experiencing towards the end of the Kaunda reign. And there were reasons why the mines started experiencing low levels of production and operations. It was merely political interference, nothing else. Political interference where you make the mines do everything else and they start spending less and less on the core business. So reinvestment in the mining industry suffered. If you remember, the mines were made to run schools, the mines were made to go into tourism, the ZSM owned the Kasaba Bay and that kind of stuff. Now, when the MMD came in, the MMD was forced. And I mean it, the MMD was forced because there were conditionalities that for them to experience debt relief and get more support from the donors, they needed to privatize. Now, that privatization process was badly handled. KCM, for instance, was sold for $25 million. And that $25 million was actually in the accounts of KCM. And within a couple of quarters, KCM earned $400 million, badly done. The best we could have done is return that 20% stake. Now, you're giving away that 20% stake today. You're giving it away. What would be the time value of that amount 5 years down the line? 10, 20 years down the line? You would have used that small change that you would have sold. For instance, Lumwana, when Lumwana was sold, I think Zambia earned about $300 million. Within a year or two, Lumwana was sold to Barrick Gold for $8 billion. Now, what is 20% of $8 billion? You're talking about, I think, $1.6 billion against the $300 million that we received. So certain decisions, even if one may not be benefiting, it is looting because somebody else is benefiting, and that somebody else who is benefiting must have promised somebody something.
Well, I'll still ask that if we're going to call them thieves or looting more than the previous administration, then we must be able to put hard evidence on the table and not circumstantial, contextualized
Costa
assumptions.
Costa. One needs to be very dull, actually, to fail to come to that conclusion. Here is the situation where the UPND themselves, from Hakainde Hichilema's mouth, comes a statement that fertilizer, a ton of fertilizer on the international market cost $600 million, landed here in Zambia. $600 million a ton. 2 weeks after winning elections, his single sources fertilizer at $1,400 per metric ton. And how is it done? His single sources his own relative from Southern Province, to provide that, who didn't have capacity to do so at that particular time. And this relative now starts going around looking for fertilizer from well-established local companies that had it in stock. So what can you conclude from that?
So again, we've heard this story about Alpha.
It's not a story.
Yes, allow me to ask a question. We've heard this allegation that you're making here about Alpha Commodities and the president's single sourcing. Why have you failed to take this matter to the Anti-Corruption Commission with these facts?
Very good question.
Because the president has been on record saying he meddled into procurement of fertilizer because he was serving, it was at a press briefing, it's all there on record, he was serving the country over $55 million US. And so why can't we prosecute him over those statements if the evidence is there?
Costa, all our institutions that are supposed to underpin good governance and provide checks on maladministration have been compromised. Where is the Anti-Corruption Commission sitting in terms of leadership today? It's State House. Where is DEC sitting? It's State House. The Office of the Public Protector has been frustrated right, left, and center. Has it ever been functional even before this administration? No, it hasn't. And if you recall, Bregna Changala and myself have been fighting the cause of the Public Protector for a long time, since inception. In fact, even when I was in cabinet, I used to raise these matters in cabinet concerning the Office of the Public Protector. Given Linda is my witness, I used to tell him.
So the main essence of this interview was...
So we can't... Where do you take the matter?
Allow me, the main essence partly of this interview, we have strayed a bit, was to look at the presidential State of the Nation address. I'll quickly jump to good governance and integrity. The president said progress has been made in the fight against corruption, since we're now tackling this, to strengthen collaboration and efficiency among law enforcement agencies. Government in 2023 established the Asset Recovery Interagency Coordination Framework. Government has also strengthened the legal framework on the management of forfeited assets through the issuance of SI number 13. And obviously, to address these concerns, government has issued SI number 10 of 2024 to provide for the speedy disposal of cases. This is evident in the improved score and ranking on the recent Transparency International Corruption Index. So they feel they're doing very well on the corruption fight.
It's not just I listened to his address. On the corruption side, they're doing very, very badly. And honestly, I don't care about the statement that was issued by that outfit.
TIZ?
Yes, trying to rank corruption as having reduced. Look at how, for instance, the UPND as a party is looting from national coffers by just going to put up a claim to say they pointed a gun at me, 400,000 Yafma. But how much have they given to the family of that child who was killed in Mufurila and that other youth who was killed in Mansa? Nothing. How many people have been named in the Sujilite scandals in this country? They're all UPND. You understand? That's corruption. You try to invite Musa Mwenya here, and you ask him how many cases they are investigating at their own instigation, because they don't have to wait for somebody to report. If somebody, an article comes out that this is happening, they're supposed to institute investigations. So on the issue of corruption, no. Okay. On the issue of morality and also early child marriages and alcohol abuse by our youths, this is being promoted. It continues to be promoted by the UPND, just like it was being promoted in the PF. And here is how it happens. You see, if you give Mulusa a job and you are going to stay in government for 10 years, Mulusa will be able to educate his children. So he'll be creating a well-trained human capital for the future. If during those 10 years you make sure you retire Costa, because of his name and where he comes from, Costa will not be able to educate his children. So in your family, there will be alcohol abuse, there will be early marriages, junkies will come from you. Whereas I will have chances of putting into society a well-brought-up family.
So are you saying
they are talking
the cause of alcohol abuse is jobless unemployment?
Yes. Our youths are finishing schools, no economic or job opportunities. What do? They become idle minds. What do they do when they become idle minds? They start doing all sorts of wrong abuses. So when you start favoring one region against the other, you are actually destroying the future generations of those other the regions that you are not favoring. So now you can't start talking about you cannot start complaining about the existence of junkies, alcohol abuse, alcohol and substance abuse, and marriages breaking up when you are actually denying other people opportunities.
Let me just quote the president under morality and ethics. Government is concerned with incidences of social vices such as early child marriage, teenage pregnancy, alcohol and substance abuse. To address the vices, working with the church, traditional leaders and other partners, government in 2023 conducted sensitization programs countrywide. 192 chiefdoms with over 2.5 million took part in this. To stem alcohol and substance abuse, government sensitized 211 chiefs and 700 religious leaders. Is this mitigation measure enough to curb this vice and bring about morality and ethics?
Do you know one thing I'll say? If you look at the conduct of HH, he doesn't mean what he says. He doesn't mean what he says. He says something and does something else. I mean, I've just explained here. If you deny a family member an opportunity to have a job, an opportunity to start a business, you deny them, but you favor people from one region, you are destroying that family. You are destroying that family. It is in that family where immorality will creep in. It is in that family that is going to face more instability, and more marriages will break. In that family, whose breadwinner, whether male or female, you've decided to sideline. These things have got implications, and I hope that people can step back and reflect how they are destroying people from regions to whom they are denying a lot of things. But you are going to hear HH say, we are going to develop this nation without leaving anyone behind. But come on.
But the president's mantra during his speech, he talks about patriotism and national unity. He keeps on preaching one Zambia, one nation, one people, one nation, one people. And that as long as you're Zambian and you're qualified, you will be employed. And they've been doing this with the teaching fraternity, the health fraternity, investigating whether malpractice has happened, even with issue of rooting out ghost workers. So isn't it commendable enough, Honorable Mulusa?
No, it's not, Costa. Costa, you see.
Why are you not satisfied?
I'm not
just because you're in the opposition?
No. Costa, I'm a very realistic and very, very fair person. I'll just give you one example. Unless you don't check these things on social media, there are lists that are flying around showing who heads which parastatal organization appointed after HH came into power and where they come from. They're all coming from one region. Just check. They're all coming from one region. And those that have been retained and have not been kicked out, again, are all coming from one region. So you cannot start talking about fairness, about morality, about whatever. Let me tell you, this speech is just...
But the president says numbers don't lie. Under human dignity, equity, social justice, equality, and non-discrimination. This is what we're discussing. I quote the president: government has the responsibility to uphold dignity of all citizens, as well as their right to social justice and equal treatment. 7,221 teachers recruited in 2023. That's employment. Over 2.2 million vulnerable learners from 82 selected districts being supported under homegrown school meals. 3,300 vulnerable youth across the country provided with grants under the National Youth Scheme. Isn't this equality and social justice?
You just wait for the reports or any government assurances from cabinet office, from parliament, because that one does follow up on the programs, and let's see if what the president is saying is actually true.
The president of cooking these figures? These are figures within government machinery. The president doesn't produce his own speech. This is technocrats writing for the president. These are the numbers.
Okay, Costa, these things are written for the ears of the people. We should see it in the outcomes. And I've for instance given you examples about the leadership in the parastatals and where they come from. Look at your appointments when the president makes pronouncements about appointments. And let me give you an example. For instance, the president was appointing ill-qualified people to become state councils. Jack Mwimbu. Tell me, which case has Jack Mwimbu defended? In the Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court, or Supreme Court, which was a novel case, whether he lost or not? Nothing. Nelly Muti, nothing. Mwangala Zaromis, nothing. These people, in the past 5 years, have not argued a novel case that went into the law reports that would qualify them to be appointed as the state councils. Now, where do they come from? Nelly Muti, Western Province. Mwangala Zaromis, Western Province. Jack Mwimbu, Southern Province. These are statistics. But look at the statement of what the president is saying. Let me take you to another issue. The Ministry of Finance and National Planning undertakes a rigorous exercise to come up with a 5-year national development plan. And this approach started with the 7th National Development Plan, which I was part of with a very good team there. The current administration produced 8th National Development Plan, and there's a forward from the president and the acknowledgements from the Minister of Finance. 2 weeks later, the president said Craig Mills from South Africa was going to craft our developmental plan. What does that tell you? It means that the 8th National Development Plan will just gather dust on the shelves.
Is that
and
true?
It was
because
just
is
yes.
that true? I've interviewed ministers here who talk about, and permanent secretaries, that we are following the 8th National Development Plan. That's our development agenda. The president has been having, I was with your interim chairperson, Honorable Sakwiba Sikota, a couple of weeks ago, happy that when Yuka spoke about professionalism in the civil service, the president called PSs and things like that, and you were happy that it was your move. So, and there the president was preaching the 8th NDP.
Yes, the problem is...
Even just last week in Parliament at Youth Day, the president was preaching 8th NDP.
Those are just exercises of compliance. They're expected to do the 5-year National Development Plan, they do it. But they say somebody else will do it, somebody else from outside the country is the one who is going to do it. So are they even following it? If they are following the 8th National Development Plan, tell me, what strategies are they at the moment applying, for instance, to promote multi-sectoral economic diversification? They are not investing in energy. They're not.
They are investing in energy. I mean,
where?
They have partnered with Saudi-based firms, and there's investment coming in from the UK, from Saudi Arabia, in solar.
Let me tell you, Costa. You hear the president correctly. He says there are pledges, $8 billion worth of pledges into the energy sector.
But these investors have come through and are now embarking on feasibility studies. We've seen them through them meeting various government officials from the UK, even from the Arabic countries. Isn't this how investment begins? Through commitments and pledges? How else is it done? And this is your area. I mean, you've worked far and wide in South Africa. Doesn't it start from a commitment of a pledge? And you put it onto paper?
And then?
It's actualized.
You know, what we're going through is a joke. Let me tell you. General Solochi announced that in 2 months' time, and that was, I think, last year in August or September, that in 2 months' time, from then, there was going to start establishment of a $15 billion smelter, copper smelter, which will be the biggest in Africa, if not in the world, in Kabompo. Now, if you look at August, September, October, November, December, that's 5 months later. We are in March, that's 8 months later. Where is even a foundation stone in Kabompo? These are pledges. Again, there's no way you can pledge $8 billion of a solar investment in this country. You can't bring that up. Today, the installed capacity, yes, let me go technical now. You see, you can only invest up to 10% of your reliable installed capacity. And when I say your reliable installed capacity, one that can run 24 hours a day, you still can get power from there. Now, solar shocks the system. There's no way, if we have installed capacity of 2,250 megawatts of power, can you put up, there's no way you can put up solar of 5,000 megawatts of power. It will shock the system.
Well, but this is not instant. It's obviously through a period of time.
No. You need to grow. You need to grow your reliable installed capacity. If I were President President HH, I would never have given those rebates to the mines, because what mines are crying for is cheap energy in order for them to have lower production costs. So what I would do, and this for your own information, we started doing when I was still Minister of National Development Planning. I introduced the provincial expos, and the idea was that the provinces should look at their potential, economic potential to grow. Then they can invite investors. And the first one we did is Ruapula. And Ruapula has over 2,000 megawatts potential of hydro power. Take that money you've given to the mines, go and generate power from Ruapula. You can use that power then.
Why didn't you do it?
I started it. We took the investors, when we did the investment expo, investors came. And then
they pledged?
Well, they started doing their feasibility studies.
What has happened?
I don't know, I left.
Finally, Honorable Mulusa, under democracy and constitutionalism, the New Dawn government says they are committed to deepening the country's democracy and constitutionalism as the surest way through which the people can be assured of their freedoms and right to participate in decision-making. The president expressed delight that Zambia has been named among the top 3 most democratizing countries in the world by VDEM. In the same breath, on 8th March, a letter was written by OSIDA, Actions Against President Hichilema and his grouping Undermining Democracy, to Michael Gonzalez, who's the ambassador to Zambia from the UN. And the petition is for the US government to impose financial sanctions, visa restrictions, and travel ban against top Zambian officials, among them the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Grafel Musamba, Honorable Jack Mwimbu, the Minister of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Speaker of the National Assembly Nelly Muti, Chief Justice Mumba Malila, the Director of Public Prosecutions Gilbert Piri, the Chairperson of the ECZ Madam Mwangala Zolomes, and President Hichilema himself. You, the UKAA, at the last press briefing when you were appointed and announced, said you're supporting this. Why?
We are supporting that because that's a very, very credible and a respectable organization and very consistent, and I must say they are incorruptible. Maybe you don't know, Bishop Mpundu was given a vehicle by HH after HH1, and Bishop Mpundu returned it He refused. He said, I don't need it. You understand? So, a complaint is coming from such an organization, and it hasn't started now. It started a long time ago, and where a particular administration went off the correct route, these raised red flags. So we support this because it's coming from that a credible institution. Now, it's not only OSIDA that authored a complaint to our partners. Sean Tembo also did. Look at how Sean Tembo has been brutalized. Human rights abuse. He complained, I think, to the ICC. I'm not too sure whether to the African Union as well. And they acknowledged the receipt of his complaints. And so this has been written to the Americans. One would say, but why the Americans? Because those are the people that we're calling imperialists and that kind of stuff. It's because those are the ones that have put in place, amongst many things, to try and promote the existence of democracy. You know, so we support this. And for your information, OSIDA is intact. Forget about the group that my uncle, Ambassador Leslie Mbula, was leading. That one is a Mao's Sampa. Just like they've done to Mao's Sampa, is what they want. They're attempting to do to OSIDA. OSIDA is intact. The group that you saw parading themselves as OSIDA, only one member is OSIDA, Ambassador Leslie Mbula. And the OSIDA has got a constitution, and it has got rules and regulations. You must ask yourself a question: why wasn't it signed? It was not signed because Ambassador Leslie Mbula knew the consequences of signing that. He is not authorized. When OSIDA issues a statement, only one person is authorized to sign it. It goes under the signature of one person, and that is Archbishop Emeritus Telesfo Mpundu. So that is a very, very fake thing, and I don't know why my uncle should be reducing himself to, you know, to being on the wrong side of history. Right now, as we speak, for your information, OSIDA is meeting. It is meeting, and it is being chaired by Mr. Yusuf, the vice.
Honorable Mulusa, thank you so much for coming through to Costa this evening.
Pleasure is mine.
My guest this evening has been Honorable Lucky Mulusa. He's been appointed as the new interim Secretary General of the United Kwacha Alliance, UKA, who have intended to form a political party under the same, umbrella name. We've been discussing among many other issues the presidential speech presented to Parliament on Friday last week by President Hichilema. Remember that this program is streaming live on our Facebook pages at Diamond TV Zambia, as well as our YouTube page at Diamond TV Zambia. Thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless the Republic.
Thank you.
Costa was brought to you by FQM Trident Limited, a subsidiary of First Quantum Minerals Limited. It's
possible with ZNBS. It's possible with ZNBS.
Chaboka, Bwelani Muine. Dream big, save, win, and build with ZNBS today. Open or grow your ZNBS savings account balance and stand a chance to win. A residential or commercial plot with building materials, a whopping 50,000 kwacha or 20,000 kwacha worth of shopping vouchers. Or you can be part of 10 lucky savers to win their share of 250 bags of cement every month. Just a minimum monthly deposit of 2,500 kwacha for individuals and 5,000 kwacha for SMEs. You are automatically eligible to participate in this competition. Start saving with ZNBS now. The more you save, the higher your chances of scoring fantastic prizes. With ZNBS, it's possible to build, buy, or renovate your dream home.
Deposit, save, win, and build.
Umupamapamo, watulile ngoma. Consistency enables one to achieve his or her goals. But that responsibility comes with its own challenges.
When that time of the month comes, it's never easy, but I must be ready.
Mukunkala kwangu pano padera, nosebenzera abana. Masiku yanangu, yomvwika bwino. Lomba yakini, mvwika lini bwino.
They say you look after wealth, but knowledge looks after you.
In all my years as a wife and as a mother,
something always had my back in painful times.
For fevers, headaches, muscle aches, and backaches, the recommendation is
Panadol.
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 Panadol. Pharmanova, saving lives since 1980.
No, Sabina. Pano pa nyumba nikasia shiteni ndarama mpasa bururuwan. Nikasia chani mpasa bururuwan.
Ndamazi tuzana masia tini mpasa bururuwan. Ndamazi?
Nanga ndarama zani masia leo.
20 kwacha nzapa sapota nipalapo ni gepo nipasa kuna mtu.
Oh, so 20 kwacha si ndarama ni matepo.
1 week. Mfunike mkasenza mtanuka kusenza mwamuna walimba wayuma kosa kusenza uti mkaza kwa burangi na
Sabina mwaka mbabu ino last week nampasa ni 20 inaenda ku
nikula vakudia
vakudia viti mnyumba mulibe vakudia lero mtapo futiche
vile kuti vakudia pakuti apa so na salad ya si yana 20 kwacha za daily maveg
siniza vamene mzachita chikulimwe mizano hizo
amtanuka mfatutamba pana
uziva
yani ndani
Sabina nzakuvaka mula vantu kuti tambe
pa yushen igemre
wanima
tieni nayo so
okay problem yanu imwazimai creativity mulibe
chani
kumbuyo kwa chimbuzi kuja kumera ondwe kiorani amene uja ondwe mpike
ya kumene kuja kumbuyo kwa chimbuzi ima ndiba mankana namba 1 mkakolewa kutundira kwa amene kuja ntenge nchole ndibwenidi
yes chifuka mitundo zamene zile ni vitamin O
ima ndiba mzafinga kutia vitamin O amene iyo inesinifuna pera mpusenje bendrama hapa oho na watizakele kesha mpaka huko matitambe bantu sasa nje ndrama hapa
kuma ise tinazi kwatira
kaya vili vonse kaya ngati mnazi kwatira sini zanivani isenje ndrama amtanuka teni kwa atari amuka siyeso
mamfuna nsiyecha
siya nkono lo 50 lo 100 amtanuka
Sabina ndiye ndarama amene nikwanisa nisiye iti ndarama ina
ndiye ndarama namkwanisa iyi amene iso
yes ni amene nikwanisa Sabina
evidence kazema veg ne
Yes, my veg they're very good, nutritious.
Sinifuna kudia ma veg daily. Sinifuna.
Nangambira zimatia bwanji ma veg.
Ndile mbira ine.
Kalulu amadia bwanji olo ng'ombe ikudia ma veg but nyo ina.
Ndile kalulu ndile ng'ombe.
Kaya Sabina. Mwankalako fula kaunda.
Sinifuna. Sinifuna. Wale mkasike mga kaunda. Tudele mkazikisa ma veg.
Ma veg isanzalo timatia ma veg.
Sinifuna. Every day mkabwa yako mkama ine nakuta. Mwendo gona ine nakuta. Mwendo gona.
Nisanu hizo.
Makana kudia sime mosiku.
Ni mabwera okuta sini mankana na appetite.
Kuyopa ma veg make sini mankana appetite. Sendera ma yo boka every day.
Hey, software.
Yeah, software mdala.
Shepo ngolani. Wachaya ka?
Achaya mdala.
Ni pasa.
Sima mapesa za sila magula polele. Gula ichijenia ichi. Chitukonda maninga, chitatotuma na phone ile.
Yeah, sono unipase ko tutatu,
Tojua lo tomata.
Olo twaka mpumburu mmatichosa komando anyamata ino.
Inde mda manyumba mu. Akaza manyumba tobwa tumuza ati. Toka nsima tawe lipenjua maveji.
Chibonzo. Yeah.
Senze pema nini na.
Ni makutrasita iwe. Faka jabe. Tira chizule. Manje faka mona kena ka plastic ona. Inga system.
Kuja kama ndo matukupsha hapo.
Yeah. Then pilipili hapo na system.
Tukupusa basi.
Sabini.
Tutisafreke. Ibo masete ni kwacha kuimba tenkule veg mbona kudia michopo kuni.
Ndana kula michopo hapo.
Ndani.
Nisungiza cha.
Akusungiza ni chana, akusungiza cha kula
mtenga nyama.
Yo mendo zintini kaja.
Onani kono so.
Ana 14 kaja mimi na. Ila so kwanza.
Asiyateni kwacha la. Adipendana.
Ina mwalimu ashitira hapo. Mbele na mdala. Ina ni masi yako tutatu tulifo kunyumba na ine kuno na ni masaba kama
sasa. Kulipe imafuna noti safrege. Ndio nyama ina ni veg. Atichiputa.
Yanganza mimi zo nyama za mimi. Eva gerepo.
Mwa muna.
Manyendele mkazi.
Get out. Nikuuza pa usunga pangine.
Ndine business, ni business.
Tizaka kuona zaka kugula vinyama, bachabe.
Bachabe batumbo
manoama.
Siviwama.
Basket.
Mzisi yazo kwana. Oho. Msia zinono mfuna business.
usati nifwe uziva vimene wachita ha nyama izi sizanga sinalipire unifaka mkhongole putting me in problems
mkhongole ziti
Sabina unankhala bwanji kansi we muntu
imu nakuona ni mulipira kwa kuja mkazi kama mkhongole ziti
nalipira kwa
sana kufusina kuti ngolangizani ndalama na mwampasa ja mkazi
tinampasa ko muntu ndalama wanisiya mkhongole Sabina
ina nikazi jarepo pano mkazi enda kuja mkazi nyama mkachuka mkachoka kwa machukira mazuru moza mkabula kunyumba ati ai ina silifu ni appetite kasi mmadge nyama uko mkana maveji inangazi maveji kasi chochwe vitamini O uko
uziva Sabina time ina nzaka kukwerera kansini
akwerani
kadaba nzaka kwera kansini
akwerani
ulipenda nsoni mafuta miu nyama zawe
zawama kuti muzive kuti mfunika msindama kwa nkoloka pa nyumba pano tagula nyama mabwa kuti na mtadia tonse pamoja kuti mamkudi yamweka na nkazi kia maveji kuti
nzaka tia va poison
mfutabe Takuwalanga matobwa kusenseni ubaba nyumba sima baba zinontawi imwe pano mabwera usiku day 23 ndipe mbwa kunyumba lero machocherera kubwa kuno kunyumba chuka cha nyama zabeni zanatenga Ero next time venza ngachita ngana nakupezana
Mr. Mtano kaliko.
Mbachana.
Bamdala baliko.
Nafunsa kuti ni wachani?
Ngani ya chimunda madamu mwezi.
Ngani ya chimunda bwana?
Program inabwerera ngani ya chimunda. So ngati baliko niuze ngati baliko munuze mwezi.
Amuna ndiye banga. So kubeti njabanga ni bisa pamene ndi. Nuze ni wachani. Nkakubenga ndiye chimunda siningaziwe njanje sinaona.
Madam Mr. Mtano na dinga nana bad mwezi ambiri mwezi. So ngati baliko che niuze ngati baliko PM che mwezi.
Ngasimfuna mbamponi nakafunza ati ni wachani simfuna kamba nzame.
Okay, madam. Mwizo nezibunya mabamba mwezi nezibunya mabamba. So nimapezeka pakazi my market baza pamtindere. Magulisa maboxer, mabamba, ma ladies, makapdolosi ana shan. So Mr. Mtano kacheko che program nini ina heavy che timadingana chimwe mwezi.
Ti program ndiye nifuna please. Kambani kuti program ni 99 noti kuta
Okay madam bana kongole yanga mwezi Mr. Mtano kana kongole
zingati
baliko swali
kana kongola cha
imwe madam it's not important
ina ndina account ndinopa pa nyumba so imanga simakabatiwa na kongole zingati sinza kupasana chabana kongola ngati sina chikamba sinza kupasana
master ino nayo kulini ni 120
kana kongola cha
amun pasa master simun pasa
manje nikupasa ni master pesa za chana kongola
madam nakuzana tu amuna wana na kongole mwaizo so nipasa che master
pesa na 120 bana kongola chani
madam ya swala kongolera mwaizo nakuzana dane zibunya mabamba so amuna wana natenga magistring ya red ya blue na black tatu magistring wana kongola magistring kuline mwaizo mpasa ni master and PM
Amtanuka. Bwani phone. Where are? Come here. Amtanuka. Nati bwani phone.
Alo, Mr. Mtano. Chepa hizi, mbasa mda, nakutenga master.
Nizakuchani wanu.
Abantu pano sabi.
Mr. Mtano, paseni master mda, nakutenga master.
Abkonkandarama.
Aya nkala master wakamba.
Ndarama kwanda. Munakongola something. Iwe usachite maovolosi ngati ndiwa matumbo wajana kugulisa matumbo wavera.
Mdala nipenda pona nchito waiziyo nipasa mastata ya.
Nina nkongole yako hii.
Wamdala tunatenga majistring ya 3 kuli ine. We na imu.
Nipasa andani majistring minani. Ile sini mafrapa la majistring mnamnyumba. Mafrapa makabudu ya yadu.
Sabini.
So, manga ni mrestring. Majistring mapaka
uyu muntu aoneka monga asokonezeka.
Not na hivyo Mr. Mtanuka nipasa mastata na imu. Zata fyumpano mamuzamo niliri mkamba.
Uza ineso.
Ndani na mpasa cha mastata, mpasa mastata.
Mpasa ndani. Omana ndo opusa.
Sabina.
Mpasa bwana. Niza kucha left. Sio ngakamba na tiwe.
Osa funzila kuno.
Zona zbunya mabamba chimzima uzuza vapuwa.
Tase
choka.
Ndo opusa. Wanga majisi.
Mpasa nche mastata. Mpasa ni mastata. Mpasa ni mastata. Mr. Mtanuka nienda ku polisi.
Enda kulikonsa.
Mr. Mtanuka mastata. Sumuka kongole magistri. Mulete chimka stand of magistri. Mpasa ni mastata.
Ngati suni ziwa ine. Polisi ili mmanja mwenu. Ha? Central Police MTO churu ni mziva ine. Ha? Yenda Woodlands Police officer in charge ni mzanga. Mwambe? Niza kutimba kulibela kwa mene uzai.
Unama naenda polisi.
Sabina choka.
Imwe mawaza wakazi wanu. Mastata yanga ni mzanzi pasa mastata. Mastata ni hakuna. Mastata. Stutu yanga mwaizi mzanzi pasa. Naenda polisi.
Imwe. Nocho kuti mvilime kuti mukate u. Katane nani. Munapasa ndani majisi na mena.
Majisi ni yati Sabina.
Akampata bote ngandalama majisi ni mnatenga ya black ya blue kapana ya kala bwanji. Munapasa nda.
Sabia mwamufunsa umuntu nakamba ine nakana.
Imwe. Nimufunse kuti akachoka konso ukabweka nifanye mataboteka ndama makabudwe majisi nayi. Nimafuna makabudwe Munapasa ndani majisi na mena.
Nakumbuka Sabina. Makabudula mena ninatenga yaja. Ninagulira vanti vaja vakucha wangu. Kaina na dandaula uta aine.
Amtanuka. Nanzaro zanu zonse. Mungandogula magistrini. Kwenda gulira vanti bana. Mulishuwa mulanga ni benze.
Sabina. Vaja anti vanga vakucha wama vaja. Manje mwana wao uja ni wanga chela. Niyo mene na shita.
Uyo mumgule magistrini. Ine mfade ya wrestling. Amtanuka maso wale samozi waka.
Sabina nikola iwe.
Amtanuka.
Sabina. Iwe.
Imagine a big stage, music and lights, people singing and dancing all day and night.
Enjoy all the nutritional benefits of real milk with Maximove flavored milk, rich in calcium, vitamin D, and protein. Let Maxi move you.
How to use your home Airtel Money wallet when traveling across Africa. Step 1. Get used to a new place. Step 2. Learn the language and culture. Step 3. Pay your bills in a foreign country using your home Airtel Money wallet. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Davido, you've been nominated in multiple award categories. How do you stay winning?
simple. I keep my eyes on the game.
Imagine a big stage, music and lights, people singing and dancing all day and night.
Enjoy all the nutritional benefits of real milk with Maximove flavored milk. Rich in calcium, vitamin D, and protein. Let Maxi move you.
In order to give road users easy access to insurance and road tax, Madison General Insurance Company Limited and RATSA have introduced QR code certificates. This means you can print road tax and insurance on standard white A4 paper. But how do you make sure your certificates are valid? Easy! Here's how. Only buy from authorized sales representatives, accredited insurance brokers, or directly from our offices. Buy insurance and road tax online from online.madison.co.zm. Scan your certificates using a QR code scanner, which can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the App Store.
Call 4848. Engine, it's worth it.
It's Long King. I'll back to tonight.
I just have to pay.
Sounds like a plan.
How can you even think that? Yo, dude, better than that back.
I knew before no.
Inside never wanted.
Time to pop his bad boys into the fridge.
Flavors of Africa.
Enjoy your favorite shows anywhere. Download DStv Stream today.
Chop some onions. I've been to. Into the pots. Delicious. Sprinkle some spring onion.
Have you heard about the lady who knows how to cook? She makes the best noodles with a special look. She adds to veggie, spices and meats and serves them hot and fresh down in every street. Mama Benson noodles, hey, you make me smile. Mama Benson noodles, tasty every time. Mama B is making bento tonight. Mama B is making bento tonight. Mama B is making bento tonight. Mama B is making bento tonight.
Good, better, bento.
Magona?
Ha?
Magona?
Nauka. Nimezo.
Koma mwanzo zimina pati ni nimezo.
Mwaona kuti nagona basi futhi mfosa.
Mali kozaka gona ni myumba we. Simangaka kongo pampanisho so.
Amena akamba kuti nagona. Nikusila Sabini, nikusila. Mwaona muntu menso niyo vala mwagona. Nili menso.
Amtanuka na ma problems imwe mambili. Kulibeka kuti mungankhala chaka. Nikuyankha kuyipa. Chimavuta.
Kai we muntu ngati ufunsa vintu vamene vili straightforward. Chimavuta. Mwaona? Logic. Ganiza bwana.
Logic is nine.
Mufuna chita bwanji kansa.
Sose meniwa simayankha kuyipa.
Mufuna washa vovala hivi. Wait first. Sabini, wait. Bwezani vovala.
Nichani?
Bwezani vovala. Chifukwa mu nyumba umu nankhala niluza ndalama na ndalama ye in ye out. Maona?
So mfuna kwasha?
Problem yanu mmani secha ino. Mukapeza kali konse kantu basi mwafaka mbazini. Niye problem yanu.
So manya mfuna chani?
Mukalibo fanga mmanzi tieni hapa yambani kusecha matumba one by one. Mfuna kali konse kamene mwapeza mtenge. Yes.
So ngati ndima muli broke.
Babaraza. Ndani wamena li broke. Last time pamene munachita washeni ninasiya tu kwacha. Sinaione na mulile.
Muchita mtanduka ngati niwasha. Napeza ndalama. Nikupaseni futi. Sina ngatengera ndogula mukapani sote. Unagula motomati.
No, si ano ndalama. Ivi vana muchita Sabina ni chimozi ni corruption. Never made safu na president. So tien one by one. Sechani.
Nikapeza ndalama.
Munipasi.
Then wash.
It's up to me.
Then wash.
Nanga nishi chana nalipirira kwa makolo wana.
Inasila ndalama cha tankala maningi mazuri.
Tien. So that's not your man in Dalamazanga. Okay?